Part 143. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1431. The people sent by Cheng failed to find Bai Wei and Mu Zixuan in the end. They travel as they wish, with no plans at all. Some places they find interesting may linger for more than a month, and places they find boring may board a plane to another scenic spot the next day. There is no language barrier at all. Pete is like a humanoid translator, who can convert English, German and French fluently, and can even write a few sentences in Spanish. They went to Tahiti, to the Aegean Sea, to Provence. Bai Wei's favorite is a beautiful town surrounded by the southern Alps called Queenstown. This place is like a fairy tale world. The lake water presents deep and light blue, the maple leaf forest is interlaced with fiery red and red gold, and the snow-capped mountains can be seen in the distance. It is quiet and beautiful, and there are scenery almost everywhere. The prestigious town of Lord of the Rings is also built here, another unique scenery. The two walked hand in hand on the exotic streets. There was a handmade chocolate shop with a good business on the side of the road. The slightly bitter-sweet smell of chocolate was very attractive. Pete didn't want Bai Wei to squeeze in, so he let her sit on a wooden bench by the side of the road to rest, and went to line up to buy chocolates by himself. While waiting for Pete to come back, a chubby wild duck strolled over, followed by a bunch of ducklings, fluffy and very cute. Bai Wei's eyes followed them all the time. Mother duck walked for a while and turned into the green belt planted with trees on the side of the street. A circle of bricks was built around the green belt, which was slightly higher than the ground by about 10 centimeters. The ducklings couldn't get through it, and they flapped their wings vigorously while jumping. Some flopped over, but a few couldn't make it through. Seeing this, Bai Wei couldn't help laughing, and walked over to gently lift up their little buttocks to help the ducks up. At this time, I heard Pete calling her name, Bai Wei, Bai Wei, Bai Wei. She turned her head and saw him standing by the bench, holding a wrapping paper bag in his hand, looking around nervously. Bai Wei wanted to respond to him, but for some reason, hearing him calling her one after another, a strange emotion filled her heart. She opened her mouth, but made no sound. The two were not too far away. Pete looked around for a while, and soon found Bai Wei beside the tree. He ran over, hugged Bai Wei into his arms, and said in a helpless tone, "My sweetheart, I've been calling you for a long time, why didn't I say anything? I almost called the police." Bai Wei nodded her head, and blurted out some words, "Don't call me that." He chuckled, "Why, do you feel embarrassed? Don't be afraid, no one here knows us." Bai Wei didn't speak. She slowly stretched out her hand, hugged his waist, and buried herself in his arms more tightly, only feeling sore inexplicably, very sad. At night, she dreamed of the grassy embankment again. Her cat was running ahead, and she was chasing after her, when she suddenly heard someone calling her name. Turning around, I saw him standing in the sparse woods. The bright green branches and leaves sifted through the golden sunlight, shining on him, and reflected in his eyes. His eyes are so beautiful, so black and so bright. But who is he? She stared at him blankly. In the dream, he smiled wantonly, and his tone was careless and lazy, saying, "You did it on purpose, you have to force me to call you sweetheart, so you will talk to me." Then, Bai Wei woke up. She looked at the person next to the pillow, as if the veil was lifted in her mind. The past and the past emerged in her heart together. Tears poured out uncontrollably, with a salty taste. With slightly trembling hands, he caressed his face bit by bit, looking for traces in his memory. He's thinner and older. There are wrinkles at the corners of the eyes, and many gray hairs grow on the temples. At his age, he shouldn't have gray hair. He is the young man she treasured in her heart, and he should smile wantonly in the wind, not what he is now. No, really shouldn't. Mu Zixuan woke up, opened his eyes, and saw Bai Wei crying silently. "Why are you so stupid?" she said softly. "I can't harm you, you go find another girl. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1432. Fate made a joke and let her remember the breeze and green grass at that time, but she couldn't remember him. She became an incomplete person, maybe not as serious as her mother, but the incompleteness and regret will always be there. She is a burden. In the dim light, Mu Zixuan looked at Bai Wei quietly, and after a while, he reached out to wipe the tears on her face. "Did you forget that there is still me? I have a good memory, and I will never forget." She choked up when she heard the words, "Zi Chuan, please hug me." He leaned over, kissed her tears, and clasped his fingers tightly with her. The soft palms are touching, warm and throbbing, as if the hearts are also connected together. She kissed him back passionately, putting aside all the shyness and timidity, weeping, kissing him eagerly and longingly, lest the next moment return to the endless fog, and never see the sun again. They unknowingly took off their clothes, kissed each other, demanded, indulged in happiness, and finally fell into that crazy rhythm together. Skin-to-skin contact makes the love strong and sweet, but the sweetness is intertwined with sadness. Tears quickly blurred his vision, and it was unknown whether it was the overly intense physical stimulation or the attachment to him in his heart, but the salty liquid kept flowing. She tried hard to open her eyes, trying to see clearly, wanting to remember this moment, remember all this. Remember his slightly frowned brows, his affectionate eyes, the sweat on his forehead, his tight arms, and the temperature of his fusion with her body. Don't want to forget. I really don't want to forget. The moment he reached the peak, he pressed heavily on her and sighed in a low voice, "I love you." Her lips touched the porcelain white skin of her shoulders and neck, and she murmured in a lower voice, "I love you, I love you." In the morning, Bai Wei woke up and saw her naked body and traces of ambiguity. Her expression was a little dazed and blank. When Mu Zixuan saw her like this, he knew that she had forgotten again. Unspeakable bitterness surged from my heart, overflowing. Forgetting over and over again, getting lost again and again, sometimes even I am confused. What is the point of this persistence? But when Bai Wei was wrapped in the quilt, looking at him with a smile on his face, his eyes were filled with shyness and attachment that moved his heart. The bitterness seemed to fade a little bit, and then a little bit less. Someone asked, "How much sweetness do you need to fill a bitter heart?" Some people say, people who are bitter in their hearts can be filled with a little sweetness. It turned out that this is how he survived until today. She forgot him, but did not forget to love him. That was enough, enough for him to last for a while, and then for a while. Mu Zixuan walked over, bowed his head and kissed her on the brow, and said with a smile, "Wake up, come and have breakfast." Their round-the-world travel lasted nearly half a year. Everywhere they went, they always sent many gifts to Xianghai and sent messages to report their safety. After the trip, Bai Wei came back happily, only to find that both Murongcheng and Mu Zi had surprised expressions on their faces. The family didn't even prepare a decent celebration dinner, which made Bai Wei somewhat frustrated. "I've been away for so long, don't you guys miss me at all?" Murongcheng stared at Pete without saying a word. Mu Zi held Murongcheng's hand tightly, and said with a smile, "We thought, you guys would play for a while before coming back." Bai Wei couldn't help complaining, "Pete sent you a message." Mu Zi's smile was stiff, and she thought to herself, "Yes, he sent a message to inform him of the date of his return, but it was misinterpreted by Murongcheng as a joke and provocation. Who knew, he actually came back on this day." Anyway, Mu Zixuan brought Bai Wei back. Unscrupulous, also known as righteousness. Murongcheng was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, but he insisted on enduring it. He couldn't reveal his identity, he couldn't destroy his mother's happiness, he couldn't even glare at him in front of his mother, and he had to act with him. So exasperating. So hateful. So helpless. Musician opened a flower shop next to the bookstore. The bookstore and the flower shop are connected. He and Baiwei are busy in the shop every day, reading books, raising grass, cooking, and raising a few cats. Business is really bleak. But life is really happy. The episode between Baiwei and Musician is over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1433. Well, every time the extra episode ends, there will be a notification from the author. First, answer and summarize the previous article. Second, make a preview and demeaning of the following text. Third, take a leave of absence by the way. Just now, I saw that Baiwei and Musician wrote 60,000 characters in the episode, which is embarrassing. At first, I actually said that it would be finished in a week, which was so embarrassing. In fact, I never thought about writing their episodes. I think you can see from the previous article that when I was sprayed, I quickly threw them away. The characters disappeared without mentioning a word, and I went straight to write other plots. Although the author should stick to his own creative intentions, the wind direction in the book review area will still dominate the general direction of the plot. After all, no one wants to write a story that will attract attention. I am not a masochist, right? After writing the small ending, many people left messages to see the follow-up development of Baiwei and Musician. I also felt that the writing was not complete, so I picked it up and added it. The emotional development at the beginning is written in more detail, so that Musician's behavior in the second half can have an emotional support, otherwise he would come out and cheat and rob people, which would seem very neurotic. The pace of the latter is slightly faster, because many plots have already been written at the stage of Murongcheng and Musei, and it will be cumbersome to write it again. I didn't mean to be anticlimactic. The fact that Ruanli and Musei were not mentioned in the memory is also for the same reason. It is good to focus on the bad things about Musei, let's ignore the irrelevant things. As for the ending, there must be an ending. I'm not good at writing daily routines, so basically every couple of CPS ends when they fall in love and get together. It's like the end of a fairy tale, the princess and the prince lived happily ever after. As for how to be happy, it is up to everyone to make up their own brains. Some people expect Murongcheng to know his life experience. Ahem, I disappointed you, I didn't intend to write like that, I feel that this state is more interesting now, hee. Some people are curious about whether Baiwei will recover her memory. I can only say that I let the story stop at the most suitable place for me. I have a little reverie, and life will have more surprises. Then the next episode is about Gu Liang and Tang Tang. Well, visually, there is another big wave of people who want to abandon the article. Well, I can understand, after all, Tang Tang is a villain in the previous article, and he is not welcome. What I want to write is a story about a villain who is reborn and becomes a good person. It doesn't matter if you don't like to read, reading novels is just for fun, there is no need to make yourself unhappy. A few days ago, I went to browse the book reviews on the browser on a whim. A reader said that I finally saw the ending of Yu Yang and Zhuangxia, and I finally don't have to endure spending money and being stuck with my slow-moving updates every day. Pain. I'm really ashamed. I know, I do write very slowly. So code every day, and be grateful every day. When I think that there are still readers waiting for my update, I think these readers are really amazing. To be able to bear such a slow speed. Think about it, even my slow speed can be tolerated, what else can't be tolerated? With this tenacity and perseverance, you will never be crushed by the storms of life. These people will definitely climb to the pinnacle of life, and from then on, they will be prosperous, 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 and their future is limitless. The above are all true words. On the 4th, the leave will not be updated, and on the 5th, Guliang and Tangtang's episodes will be updated. If you like to see you, come, and I will be happy when you come. When I am happy, I will try my best to make you happy. Meme 3, blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1434. In May, when late spring and early summer take over, there is neither the chilly coldness of the vernal equinox, nor the heat and dullness of the midsummer. Everything is just right, the sky is blue, and the vegetation is happy. Wang Zilong and Zhang Xinyuan finally achieved a positive result and held their wedding in Xinjiang. At the wedding, Wang Zhan cried into tears. Seeing the two young people exchanging rings on the stage and making vows of love, Wang Zhan was so moved that he couldn't help hugging Murong Cheng beside him, crying bitterly, "Boss, my life is complete." What? As soon as he sniveled and burst into tears, Murong Cheng showed disgust and wanted to kick him away. Muzi I stopped Murong Cheng amusedly, "Don't, he is so happy." Wang Zhan himself has no son, so he took care of Wang Zilong, who was left behind by his elder brother and sister-in-law. After the ceremony, there was a Western-style buffet banquet. Wang Zilong brought Zhang Xinyuan over to toast his uncle. Wang Zhan had already drank a lot before, and now his eyes were red and his face was also red. He held Wang Zilong's hand tightly and said earnestly, "Be sure to treat Jinuan well and listen to Jinuan. Jinuan can marry you because of our old Wang family. Your blessing, you have to cherish it, you know." "Uncle, you drank too much." Wang Zilong shook his eyebrows in embarrassment. "He also needs face, okay? In the public, why call him like a strict wife?" Wang Zhan went to shake Zhang Xinyuan's hand again. "If he is disobedient, just tell me, and I will teach him a lesson for you." "Understood, I'm not a child." Wang Zilong pulled Wang Zhan's hand away awkwardly, and forcibly left. "Let's go, I have to toast to others." After the newcomer left, some people came over to toast Wang Zhan. Some were his cronies and subordinates, and some were the bosses he knew when he was working for Murong Cheng outside. "Xiao Wang is in charge, congratulations." Wang Zhan greeted everyone for a while, and couldn't help crying again. It's not easy, the old Wang family finally has a cultural person, and it depends on this generation to change genes. Wang Zhan's generation, which has been passed down from generation to generation of rogues and hooligans, got better because of following Murong Cheng. In the early years, he suffered from the lack of reading, so Wang Zhan has been working hard to support his nephew's education, not wanting his nephew to get dirty. However, the genetic genes are there. Wang Zilong is really not material for studying. Even if Wang Zhan sent him to the most arrogant grey middle school, he still failed the exam. Looking at Zhang Xinyuan, his grandfather is a great Confucian, his grandmother is a writer, his father is a diplomat, his mother is a well-known scholar and doctoral supervisor, and although his elder brother is a bit of a failure in life, he is also a proper academic master in reading, and he is proficient in several countries' language. As for Zhang Xinyuan himself, he studied piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting since he was a child, and was recommended to graduate students by prestigious universities. In Wang Zhan's eyes, such a woman is the kind whose gene cells all over her body are glowing. It's like a saint descending to earth to save his old Wang's family. So, how can you not cry? Wang Zhan wiped away his moved tears, and continued to entertain guests with a face full of glory. Gu Yan, the second young master of the Gu family, also came to the wedding banquet, holding a glass of wine to congratulate steward Xiao Wang. Seeing Murong Cheng and Mu Ziyi also there, he greeted them with a smile. Murong Cheng asked him, "Where's your brother, why didn't you come?" Muzi was also curious when she heard the words, "Yes, last time we held a birthday party, we didn't see him either." Shao said, "I don't know either. He has been mysterious and secretive for more than half a year, and he has never been seen." After finishing speaking, he laughed again, "But if you want to see him, you can see him right away. Next month, my elder brother will get married. When the time comes, Master Rong, remember to join us." Murong Cheng said expressionlessly, "No." Guyan choked. Muzi hurriedly smoothed things over and explained, "We're going back to Xianghai next week. The children at home are making a lot of noise. I'm afraid we won't be able to attend your brother's wedding banquet. Sing for us and wish him a happy wedding. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1435. Muzi hasn't seen Gu Liang for a long time. Not only in real life, but even on the TV news, there is almost no news about him. In the past 2 months, because the wedding is approaching, there have been a few news about the Gu family's wedding banquet. Strange to say, logically, a big family like the Gu family would get engaged 1 to 3 years before getting married. As for Gu Liang's marriage, Muzi counted the time, from the time she received the news to the date of the wedding being confirmed, it took half a year. Really rushed. After Guyan wandered off to other places, Muzi and Murong Cheng discussed, "It's already very rude not to be present at the wedding, why don't you prepare some gifts for him and wish him well in advance?" Murong Cheng lazily said, "It's not necessary, even if you prepare a gift, you may not be able to find someone." "Why?" Musa looked at him inexplicably, "Do you know where he is?" Murong Cheng glanced at her, but said nothing. Muzi tugged at the corner of his clothes and urged in a low voice, "Say it." Murong Cheng took a sip of his wine slowly, and said lightly, "Eat the vegetables, and don't care what he does." "Can't I be curious?" Muzi glared at him. Okay. Murong Cheng looked around, bowed his head and whispered in her ear, "He's been tricked, and now he's probably flying abroad to find a wizard." Muzi was stunned when she heard the words. She didn't understand. "What do you mean?" "Hit." Murong Cheng held Muzi's waist, and walked quietly to the corner of the banquet hall where there was no one, chatting while walking. About a year ago, after he came back from abroad, he found himself suffering from a strange disease. At first he thought it was skin allergies, but it didn't improve after taking the medicine. The more serious it got, everyone was helpless, and finally a doctor privately suggested that he go to a mage to try, maybe there was something unclean outside. Muzi's eyes widened immediately, and she said in surprise, "This means, is he bewitched?" Maybe. Murong Cheng nodded slightly, "His illness is indeed quite evil. Can't you find a solution? You can ask Du Hao and Huang Logui to take a look. Doesn't Du Hao's store sell many small objects to exorcise evil spirits?" "I've read it. I've searched almost all the mages that can be found in China," Murong Cheng said. "Once the news of the patriarch of the Gu family's accident is spread, it will cause a big mess, so I didn't show my face when I invited the mage. I only let the mage after looking at the wound. It turned out that there was nothing to do with that thing, saying it was Western magic, they had never encountered it or treated it. Even domestic mages and sorcerers are divided into sects, not to mention the sorcerers from abroad, who don't know the rules, and naturally don't know how to understand it, otherwise they won't pay attention to the so-called Beltir." Murong Cheng continued, "Some people say that there is a woman in Doshui village who is very good at divination and fortune-telling. Gu Liang went to do the fortune-telling. The woman didn't say anything, but told him to get married quickly." "Married?" Muzi asked. "The hexagram shows that he wants to get married." "Probably because he won't live long, so let him get married quickly and leave a bloodline." Murong Cheng sighed softly, although he always looked down on Gu Liang, it was not worth it for him, It's too bad that he died like this. Muzi I still finds it unbelievable, or rather, she finds it hard to accept. How can a good person die for no reason? She frowned, and asked half-believingly, for such a big matter, how can second young Master Gu act like a normal person? I don't think he's worried about his brother at all. A guy who has nothing to say, just drink some wine, and he can get anything out of his mouth. How can you tell him? Besides, telling him won't help. Murong Chen lowered his eyes to look at Muzi, with a half smile but not a smile. By the way, speaking of it, the person Gu Liang married this time is still relative to you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1436. Relative. Muzi was completely at a loss. What relatives could she have in Xinjiang? Is it Mu Yun? Or Mu Ling? It belongs to the Ruan family, Murong Cheng said. Based on seniority, it should be your cousin. Muzi. Totally unexpected. Gu Liang was indeed in trouble. After returning from abroad, I found a small black spot on the fingertip of my right ring finger, like a mole. I thought it was dirty, but I couldn't clean it anyway. Later, the black dots turned into black lines, and the black lines became longer and longer, and the color became darker, like seeds sprouting at the fingertips, growing luxuriantly from the skin, crisscrossing, and spreading to the entire forearm. I don't feel any pain or itching, but occasionally I can't exert my strength, as if I have lost control over half of my arm. The mage said it was a kind of voodoo, and it would eventually grow to the heart. At that time, he might die, or, something more terrible than death would happen. No one has seen this thing before, and all guesses are groundless, so they can only be used as a living horse doctor, chanting mantras to exorcise evil spirits, drawing talismans, and burning paper, and opening altars, all of which don't work. Only Tongwu, who was by his side, knew about this. If he really died, it would feel absurd, but thinking about it carefully, it seems that there are not many behind-the-scenes things worth worrying about. The younger brother is a dandy, and the mother is also a clueless person, and they are not a threat to the fight for family property, so after his death, they should have no worries about their lives, and at most they will be poor. As for himself, after living for more than 30 years, it is indeed a bit of a loss to end up like this. Gu Liang went abroad for a round, but he couldn't find the wizard, but he saw a few liars pretending to be crazy. After returning to China, he mentioned marriage to his mother and wanted to get married as soon as possible. His mother was naturally happy to see what happened, and asked him what kind of girl he liked. To be honest, Gu Liang is very picky in this regard. You can refer to his predecessors for details. Their appearance, talent, figure, temperament, and taste, including how well they fit him in bed, are all excellent. But now, Gu Liang took 2 puffs of the cigarette, saw the smoke lingering in front of his eyes, and then dissipated in an illusion. He smiled lightly and said, "Choose the one that can give birth. At his age, he should have a child. Life is alive for no reason, no one would want to die, no matter how open-minded he is. It is impossible for Gu Liang to remain indifferent in the face of death." After thinking about it, he said that the only regret in his life was that he didn't meet a partner who knew and loved each other, and that he didn't have a son and a half-daughter. It's really annoying to see that guy Murong Cheng showing off. He used to show off his wife, but now he shows off his children. Gu Liang said that he wanted to choose a viable one, and Gu's mother immediately got busy. Not only must they be able to give birth, but other conditions must also not be bad. It is related to the genes of the next generation, so it must not be sloppy. However, time was extremely urgent, and she couldn't allow her to pick and choose slowly. In the end, After considering all aspects, Gu's mother chose the Ruan family. The Ruan family is considered an old-school family in Xinjiang, and there was Ruan Li, the most famous beauty in Xinjiang, and the other descendants are also talented and beautiful, Zhilianiashu. The most important thing is that the Ruan family has twin genes and can have twins. On the eve of the wedding, Gu Yan came to his brother's wedding room, holding an object covered in a red cloth in his hand, wandering around the room looking for a place. Although the wedding will start tomorrow, some gifts have already been delivered early. Or antique paintings, or gold and silver decorations, or diamond jewelry, in short, they are all valuable items, which are both lively and dazzling in the wedding room. Gu Yan took down a famous oil painting from the chest of drawers in disgust, put it against the wall, and then put his gift on it. Pulling off the red cloth, a black and blue dagger came into view. Simple and cold. There is no scabbard, the shape is rough, and there is no luster. Gu Yan specially matched the dagger with the red sandalwood sword stand, and when he put it on the shelf, the overall grade immediately improved, as if an antique dagger with a long history was on display. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1437. He took a few steps back, touched his chin and admired it for a while, feeling very satisfied in his heart. He bought this dagger with 600 pieces of gold bars. It is said that evil gods are suppressed inside, and it is good for suppressing evil and exorcising demons. Young people like this kind of mysterious and weird stuff, it feels very individual and exciting. Thinking about tomorrow, he couldn't help but look forward to the scene where Gu Liang was moved by his brotherhood. The wedding was held at Gu Liang's new residence. The garden villa has a wide and beautiful lawn, which is enough to hold a luxurious and grand wedding banquet. The bride was dressed in white gauze, with a graceful figure, she gently held Gu Liang's arms, like a flower in water, shy and gentle. Everyone praised them for their beauty, they were a match made in heaven. The ceremony was followed by a banquet, and the bride withdrew temporarily to change her dress. Not long after, a woman in white gauze appeared at the banquet, and hurriedly ran into the villa with her skirt in hand. Isn't that the bride? You read it wrong. The bride just went back to the house and hasn't come out yet. But it looks very similar. Several guests were discussing strangely. Gu Liang frowned slightly, and beckoned to Tongwu not far away, go and see, what's going on. Tongwu went away in response. When I came to the door of the wedding room, I was worried that the bride might be changing clothes, so I didn't go in immediately. When I was about to knock on the door, I heard the sound of arguing inside. How can you do this? I am the bride. The person Gu Liang wants to marry is me, not you. Sister, just let me do it once, I really like him. No. I have let you in everything since I was a child, but this time I can't. You took off the wedding dress. Take it off. Hey, Ruanzimo. Let go. Tongwu listened for a while, and probably understood what was going on. He frowned, and pushed the door in to stop the two sisters. When the door opened, he saw two brides in white gauze holding a dagger together. While pushing, the dagger pierced into the chest of one of them. The bright red blood is smudged in large swaths, blooming like an enchanting rose. At this time, old ghost Huang was bragging with a group of young mages that he had sold a treasure in Du Hao's company. Is the object that suppresses the evil god really that powerful? The young mage humbly asked for advice. That's natural. Huang Logui's eyes are full of color. Since ancient times, people have known to hang the fur and bones of ferocious beasts at the door of their houses to deter other beasts. The same is true for demons and ghosts. This is called violence. Fight poison with poison. But what if the evil god escapes? Someone asked again. Old ghost Huang rolled his eyes and curled his lips. How can it be so easy to escape? If the evil god wants to come out, he must first sacrifice blood to the evil god. The person who sacrifices blood must be as alive as dead. Dead, even if he died just for a second, the clock doesn't work, and the living ones, even if they're only hanging on their breath, must be between life and death for the blood sacrifice to be successful. Do you think you're playing tricks? Just run out if you say run out. All the mages nodded in understanding, and then started academic discussions. A very young mage asked hesitantly, what if they are twins with the same fortune? One is dead and the other is alive. Doesn't it just prove that life is like death? Old Ghost Huang was slightly stunned, and the smile on his face became forced. It's not such a coincidence, twins don't meet every day. The one married by the patriarch of the Gu family seems to be twins, right? I've also heard that it's the sisters from the Ruan family. Did they marry the older sister or the younger sister? It seems to be my sister. Huang Logui listened to their chatter, his eyelids twitched, and he muttered to himself, it can't be so unlucky. At this time, the surrounding air suddenly changed. The temperature seemed to drop suddenly, and the strange feeling was fleeting. When I looked out the window, I saw countless black shadows flying in one direction in all directions in the sky and on the ground. Huang Logui stared at the scene in front of him, his legs gave way, and he fell to his knees. Oops! The evil god was born, and all directions came to court. Well, Tang Tang is here. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1438. Although the strangeness in the air was only for a moment, these mages who have been dealing with supernatural magnetic fields all year round are more or less aware of it. Even if you can't see the black mist clearly, you can feel that something unusual has just passed this building. Du Hao naturally noticed it too. He stood by the window, stared at the direction where the shadows gathered for a moment, then walked out of the office and asked, did you see Mr. Huang? In their line of work, they all respectfully call themselves MR. Several mages in the company were crowding around the window, and when they heard Du Hao's voice, they hurriedly turned around to look, and said strangely, huh? You were still here just now, why did you disappear in the blink of an eye? Could it be that you went to the bathroom? Du Hao frowned, and told one of them, go to the toilet. If the toilet is not there, then go to his house to look for it. The man left in response, while the rest of the people were still looking outside. At this time, the sky was blue and the sun was sunny, and there was no abnormality to be seen. What were those things just now? The evil spirit is soaring, as if some big monster is coming. It's rare to meet a big monster in 100 years. Even if there is one, they are squatting in the deep mountains and old forests. How could they come to the city? Several mages argued without reaching a definite conclusion, but they were all very interested. After all, this situation was a very rare opportunity for them. It's like studying archaeology and stumbled upon a 1,000-year-old tomb by chance. Mr. Du, should we go and check? The young mages were eager to move. Du Hao asked them, do you know the location? Everyone showed hesitation. The exact location must not be known, only a general direction. Looking at the direction, it's heading south, let's look for it along the direction. If we're lucky, we should be able to sense evil spirits when we find it nearby. Du Hao asked again, what happens after you find it? Can you beat it? Everyone. Du Hao sighed, keep working, let Mr. Huang come to see me when he arrives. After speaking, he shook his head helplessly and returned to his office. Feeling uneasy, it would be fine if Huang Logui was still there, but this person is not here, so Du Hao couldn't help thinking about it. That guy, didn't he run away again? Thinking of this, Du Hao pinched his brows in annoyance. If you want to talk about gods and ghosts in this world, there are. If you want to talk about ghosts, there are also some. But no matter whether it is a ghost or a ghost, they are rare among the rare, and many people may not be able to encounter them in their entire lives? After all, whether this thing can appear or not depends entirely on the good fortune of heaven and earth. Even if he runs such a feng shui and numerology company, which specializes in dealing with evil things, the most common business on weekdays is just selling amulets, online crepe myrtle arrangement, and online video viewing. As for exorcising ghosts, there are too few businesses like this. In their business, there are 36 types of ghosts, so I won't go into details here, but if they have to rank them, they can be roughly divided into 3 categories. The first category is death for soul. It's not really a ghost at this time, it's just a ray of lonely soul, and after a long time, it will naturally dissipate. The second category, the resentment does not disappear, the soul lingers for a long time, and turns into a ghost over time. At this time, it starts to be aggressive, and it is not so exaggerated to take people's lives, but it is still no problem to scare people. The third category is ghosts who possess spiritual wisdom, know how to occupy doves' nests and be sacrificed by people, and even drive imps. At this time, ghosts become evil gods. Du Hao thought about it, and went through all the strange people and strange things he encountered in these years in his mind. It seemed that there was only one person who could be transformed into an evil god. But isn't it sealed in a dagger? Didn't the dagger sink to the bottom of the river? The phone rang, and he answered the phone. The person on the other end said, "Mr. Huang is not at home, it's strange, it seems to have moved away in a hurry, the wardrobe drawers are empty, and the door has been forgotten." Du Hao closed his eyes, thinking, it's over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1439. The Gu family's wedding banquet ended hastily. It was announced to the outside world that there were gangsters ambushing in the wedding room, attacked the bride and the bride's sister, and then fled in the chaos. It stands to reason that the Gu family is heavily guarded, so this kind of thing shouldn't happen, but the wedding banquet scene is so chaotic, it is not impossible for suspicious people to mix in, and Gu Liang has many enemies, the reason seems to make sense. As for the facts, only the Gu family and the Ruan family know. In the hospital, the nurse pulled up the white sheet and covered Ruanzimo's body from head to toe, and then the nurse sent it to the morgue. Ruanzimo's mother was crying out of breath. Although Ruan's father did not cry, his eyes were red and his expression was solemn. The dead are gone, but the living don't have much time to be sad, and they have to think about how to deal with the aftermath as soon as possible. The two sisters killed each other in order to get married. This kind of thing is not only a great shame to the Ruan family, but also an embarrassing scandal to the Gu family. In fact, for Gu Liang, it doesn't matter who the twins marry, but they have to choose one. Based on the principle of ordering the elders and younger, the Ruan family proposed to their sister Ruanzimo, and the Gu family also agreed. But sister Ruanzixuan was not reconciled. On the day of the wedding, she coaxed her sister to drink a glass of water without sleeping pills, let her sleep in her own room, and then put on the wedding dress she had prepared, and completed the entire wedding ceremony on her behalf. When the elder sister woke up, it was too late. She rushed into the wedding banquet angrily, questioned why the younger sister changed her identity, and asked her to take off her wedding dress. Ruanzixuan naturally refused. From Ruanzixuan's point of view, although the person Gu Liang married was his sister in name, but she was the one who attended the wedding ceremony, so she was Gu Liang's wife. The older sister was furious and tore her younger sister's wedding dress with all her strength. In desperation, she grabbed the dagger on the chest of drawers and wanted to cut it with the knife. The two fought like this. When Tongwu opened the door and entered, what he saw was exactly the scene. The knife was held in the hands of the two, and the younger sister accidentally stabbed the older sister's chest. Ruan Zimo fell into a pool of blood. Ruan Zixuan was greatly stimulated and passed out. This matter is related to the Gu family, but in the final analysis, it is still the Ruan family's family affairs. A family is gloomy in the hospital corridor. As I said before, sister-in-law loves Zixuan too much, something will happen sooner or later. Look at what happened, alas. A younger uncle of the Ruan family couldn't help complaining. Ruan's mother raised her head, her face full of tears. What do you mean by that? Could it be that Zimo is my fault? Did you not pet Zixuan at home? Didn't your grandparents pet you? Now you say this kind of thing? Whose heart do you want to kill? Okay, stop arguing. Ruan's father frowned tightly, and said in a deep voice, think about what to do now. Will this marriage still end? After speaking, everyone fell silent. Will this marriage still end? Being able to marry the Gu family is something that many people dream of, let alone marrying the head of the Gu family. This kind of opportunity is simply a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But, Ruan Zimo is dead. Could it be that he made the mistake and let Ruan Zixuan pretend to be her sister? Otherwise, Zixuan will be successful. Anyway, the wedding ceremony has been completed, and there is only a bridal chamber. Sure enough, someone suggested this. There were also people who were angry. Zimaquan knows, why not be mad? Not only did we not uphold justice for her, but we also helped her sister occupy her position. Zimo is the daughter-in-law of the Gu family. Who doesn't know how to say beautiful words? Are you talking about how to uphold justice and let the Gu family marry a dead man back? Don't you think the good life is enough? Seeing that they were about to quarrel again, Father Ruan interrupted them. Okay, this matter depends on the wishes of the Gu family in the end. It is better not to form an in-law family than to form an enemy family. The nurse hurried over and asked, are you the family members of the patient in room 102? Several people were taken aback. Ruan's mother replied, yes, my daughter is inside. What's the matter? The nurse said, she's gone, look for her quickly. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1440. Ruan Zimo died. Ruan Zixuan was gone. The whole family panicked, and hurriedly looked for someone everywhere, lest something would happen to the remaining daughter. The search lasted until midnight, when they suddenly received a call from the police, saying that they found a woman in a wedding dress in the cemetery, who might be the person they were looking for. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they heard the news. And after relaxing, they all trembled at the same time. Well done, why did Ruan Zixuan go to the cemetery? Even if I feel sorry for my sister, I won't go to the cemetery. Her sister hasn't been buried yet. When they went to the police station and brought Ruan Zixuan back, they became even more flustered. Because Ruan Zixuan became very strange. She doesn't seem to know anyone anymore, and she doesn't answer when talking to her. Serving her a bowl of noodles as a supper, she couldn't hold the chopsticks steadily, so annoyed, she threw the whole bowl of noodles on the ground. The cold eyes are frightening. What happened? Could it be that witnessing her sister being killed by herself was aroused, so her temperament changed drastically? Nervous. 2 daughters, one died and the other went crazy overnight. Mrs. Ruan almost fainted from crying. What worries me even more is how to explain to the Gu family. The next day, Mr. Ruan and Mrs. Ruan took Ruan Zixuan to the Gu's house in person to explain the whole situation clearly. Mrs. Ruan cried and said, it's God's fault for such a good marriage to happen. How can we have the face to let you accept this marriage? Although Zixuan has already held a ceremony with young Master Gu, but even if you ask for a divorce now, we have nothing to say, and the dowry will be returned immediately. Just thinking about whether we can delay the divorce for a year or so as to save the face of the 2 families. Gu Liang sat on the sofa indifferently, without speaking, with a cigarette in his hand, smoking slowly. Seeing Mrs. Ruan crying, Gu's mother felt uncomfortable. She was also very annoyed when this happened, but since his daughter died, it would be too mean to blame her. She sighed, and said, "There is no need to refund the dowry, just pretend that my family, Gu Liang, is not that blessed." After speaking, he took a look at Ruan Zixuan who was beside Mrs. Ruan. She was exactly like Ruanzimo. No wonder no one noticed that the bride had changed that day. Ruan Zixuan kept staring at Gu Liang without taking her eyes off, as if she hadn't heard the conversation around her. Gu's mother said hesitantly, "Just getting married and getting divorced, I don't know how much gossip will be caused. Since the ceremony has already been held, I don't think it's better." Everyone present knew what she said, and it was also a matter of mixed joy and sorrow for the Ruan family. Father Ruan let out a long sigh, and said in a deep voice, "We also had this plan in the first place. Zixuan has always admired young Master Gu, otherwise these things wouldn't have happened, but this child, to be honest, after this incident, this kind of thing, Zixuan was also frightened. Last night, for some reason, she ran to the cemetery madly. Originally, the family's ugliness should not be publicized, but we don't want you to misunderstand, and please help keep it a secret. After her sister's funeral is over, we'll take her to the doctor." When Mother Gu heard this, she couldn't maintain her peaceful demeanor. The idea of letting her younger sister marry in instead of her elder sister was just a thought on her mind, and she felt that it was inappropriate as soon as the words came out of her mouth. Although doing this can avoid gossip about marriage and divorce, but after thinking about it, Ruan Zixuan has someone's life in her hands. Even if he did it unintentionally at the time, he killed someone and was stained with blood. Such a woman married into the door, how disturbing people feel. Now listening to Ruan's father's words, Ruan Zixuan might have been scared out of his wits, so let's not have it. Gu's mother said, "It's not enough fate not to have an in-laws. Let's just let it go. No matter what, if you need help, please feel free to ask." The implication is that marriage should not be mentioned again. Father Ruan was a little disappointed, but as he said before, he would rather not get married than become enemies with the Gu family. The family got up to leave, but Ruan Zixuan still sat firmly. Mrs. Ruan was so embarrassed that she called her 2 or 3 times before she woke up. "Huh? Are you leaving?"